self-discovery or inner gain or getting closer to life, going within, what what actually are we going to find if we have to go within, if we are going within?
What we are going to find is nothing but ourself. And now, what is this ourself? What is this self? In self discovery, what do we find? There are too many answers for this. We find ourselves, we find the truth, we find God. Many answers. We find peace, we find the Supreme. There are thousands of terms. But again, what do we find? The question remains, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because self is a word now for a person who has not experienced the self. After walking on the path of self realization, what do we find? We find ourselves. But what does it mean? The question remains, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a profound answer, but come on, then what does it mean? What it technically means, not what it poetically means. That's what you are asking, isn't it?
See, what is that truth? We have to seek. Finding ourselves in what sense?
What we find is something which is not a thought. Find something which is not a thought, and you have found all. Call it truth, call it God, call it enlightenment, call it realization, call it whatsoever you want to call it. Something which is not a thought.
Peace with whatever is happening around us.
But these are sentences you are uttering. Is it that? Is the description that you are giving, is that what you find? Is the description described?
No, it can't be described at all.
Yes. Description is not described, yes? What we are describing, the description, that is not the thing that we are describing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
We can go on describing, but still they are just sentences. They are not the described, isn't it?
Right.
Because description means again they are thoughts, a higher thought, a spiritual thought, metaphysical thought, but again a thought.
Right.
What does finding truth means? What does finding ourselves mean? All that it means is find something which is not a thought. Can you find something which is not a thought? Then you have found all. And now, do not try to find by thinking. Or let's do one thing. Let's try to find it by thinking. Let's see. Try now. Imagine something or think about something. Try to understand something without giving it any name. What is that?
And then again, I can't give any name to it.
Yes, very good. Yeah, then you are doing it. Think something which is not a thought. What's happening? What's happening now? Are you even able to think?
No.
Or is it that you are able to think, but the very thinking stops on its own?
Yeah.
This is a precise way to say, yes?
Yeah.
You are able to think, totally able to think, but the very thinking itself is stopping naturally. Try a little more. Do not stop. Think. Tell your faculty to think. Work little harder. Is it able to resume?
No, it doesn't know what to think.
It doesn't know. And then what remains? What remains now?
Stillness.
Stillness. Now remove the word stillness and see what remains.
Emptiness.
Now remove even the word emptiness and then what remains? Now be in this, and do you feel oneness? Don't even think now what remains. Be in what is there. What remains, be in that. Do you find that everything is merging, including yourself? Huh?
Can I call it peace?
You can, yes. Now you know what finding ourselves means, yes? You know, yes?
Right. Finding peace in yourself.
No, that is a description.
Okay.
Technically, what you found is something which is not a thought, yes?
Right.
This is very clear. It is not a thought, yes?
Right.
And also not an emotion. Emotions are just juicy thoughts, that's all. It is not a thought. Now, you want to call it peace, it's up to you. But does it mean that if you don't call it peace, then it is not peaceful?
It is peaceful.
You can call it stress, still it is peace.
Yeah.
You can give it a very sophisticated name. Still, it is what it is. Isn't it? Your labeling is affecting in no way. You can label it anything that you want to, but that does not become that. That remains nothing. Yes?
See.
Should you call it peace?
No.
What is it? Is it peace? Come on, look at it. If there was a no word in English language like peace, what would you call?
Silence.
If there was no word silence, then
Nothing at all.
nothing at all. So fundamentally, is this even peace? No.
No.
Right? It is just a state which is not a thought. A state where you are, but not caught in the thought, where you are fully, but thoughts have disappeared. Yes?
Right.
Finding ourselves means this, reaching this state. Not the state of peace. No, just a state where there are no thoughts.
Oh,
Yes?
got it. Yeah.
Now, the experience of this, you can call it peace, you can call it truth, you can call it God, you can call it self realization, you can coin new terms on your own. But this is none of any of those things that you call.
Yeah.
Yes? Or it is everything that you call. Yes? So
Yes.
when you call it peace and somebody else calls it God, so does it become two? One part of is peace and
No,
another part of it is God and another part of it is truth?
still remains the same.
It is same.
Yeah.
All terms are same. They are pointing to the same thing. Isn't it?
Right.
So that state is neither peace, neither God, neither truth, nothing. Or it is all.
Okay. So that state is achieved when we meditate.
You can call it meditation, but all that you are trying to do is reaching a state where mind ceases.
To think.
No, not to think. Mind is thinking a lot, but it feels it can't go beyond.
Okay.
It is surrendering thinking.
Yeah.
It's not stopping. Stopping means there is still a lot to go, but it chose to stop, yes? But is it stopping? Or it is mind realizing that beyond this I cannot go simply. It's not stopping, yes?
Yeah. It is not stopping. But can we remain in that state forever?
It's up to you. You can try. But you got the key. Whether you want to remain in that state or whether you want to go there once in a while or more frequently, it's up to you. But a state is available to all.
So Buddha, who was enlightened, remained in that state always.
How will anybody know ever except Buddha?
Yeah, that
And
also.
even if you know, what will you do? Will you reach that state?
No.
I can answer this yes, Buddha remained. That's it. Now what?
Now what?
You know why? Because the question comes from, again, a mentality of checking whether it is really right or not. Because if Buddha did not remain all the time, then how can I? And if I cannot, then why to start at all?
Why to try?
Why to try at all? Even if Buddha could not, then come on, how can I? So that's why we take only Buddha's name. Buddha means the highest name. Yes.
Yeah.
So even if Buddha, let's say, was not there all the time, I will say, yes, he was there.
That won't make any
I'm not
difference.
concerned about whether he was there or not. And neither he wants that people should be concerned about whether he was there or not. You think he wants that? Even
No.
he does not want that everybody should discuss whether he was there in that state of transcendence of mind 24 into 7 or not. Even he's not concerned, nor I'm concerned. I'm concerned about you. He was there. Now you have no excuse to not to be there.
Right. Yes.
Finding ourselves means just this. Find something which is not a thought, because that which is not a thought cannot be thought also. How can you think about it? That which is not a thought cannot be thought, that cannot be grasped by intellect. Intellect cannot corrupt it. It has to surrender at the end. And that surrendering of intellect is what you are experiencing as cessation of mind. Your mind stops. This is your intellect surrendering. And what remains is that state. And I cannot describe it without distorting it. The moment you describe that state, you are distorting. But I'm helpless. Because without description, you cannot understand. Because you have a desperate mind which wants to get entire idea of that. It wants to get the itinerary of enlightenment. It wants to know what is the first thing that happens after enlightenment. What is the next thing that happens after enlightenment? Do I remain alive or not? Does individuality remain or it disappears? How much it remains? What to do if it doesn't remain? It wants a complete report. Yes,
Yeah. Too many questions.
yes. Intellect is desperate. It wants everything beforehand and then it can decide. And remember, it is not asking everything so that it can decide. No, it is asking everything because it can avoid now. It is asking reports, itineraries, not because then it can calculate and decide. It is asking because it wants to avoid. And that's why its question never ends, isn't it?
Yeah.
Question never ends. Intellect has infinite number of questions. And that's why it has no space for answer because too many questions. Where is the space for answer? That's why mind can ask any question. It has the ability to ask any question, but it does not have the ability to grasp the answer. It can ask what is consciousness, but it cannot grasp consciousness. It can in a moment ask what is truth, but can it grasp? It cannot grasp.
Yeah.
It can ask all the questions that can be asked, but that's all that it can do. It cannot grasp all the answers. And because it has the ability to ask any question, so it thinks that it also has the ability to grasp any answer. And that's why when it does not get answer, what does it think? What does it conclude? It concludes that there is no such thing like truth, there is no such thing like enlightenment, realization, this and that. It is not ready to accept that I can ask any question, but I cannot grasp all the answers. It thinks if I can ask all the questions, then I can also grasp all the answers. But that's not the reality. Mind can ask any question, but it cannot grasp all the answers. It can ask what is life, but it cannot grasp what is life. That is the loophole of mind. That is the limitation that intellect has. It can ask any question, but it cannot grasp all the answers. And also then it refuses that there is no such thing like this, like that. It is not ready to accept the fact that it cannot grasp the answers. It concludes that the very question is invalid. What is truth? There is no such thing as truth. What is God? There is no such thing as God. And all these people who are behind God, behind truth, behind enlightenment are foolish people. Do they not have even this much intellect? These are poor people, intellectually poor. But no, the poor is one who is caught in the intellect. The poor is one who is not realizing the limitation of itself, this intellect, that it can ask anything, but it cannot grasp everything.
So this is mind's self-defense mechanism or ego playing here.
Yes, intellect has questions, so it can avoid. It can avoid seeking. It can avoid the journey. Because in journey, it will get destroyed. It has a fear of it. So it has a list of questions about God, about enlightenment, about truth, about realization, and the list goes on. You think if I answer all your questions, then at the end of the discussion you will say, okay, now let's walk on the path of self-realization because all my doubts are cleared. Will it happen? I'm not talking here you as specifically you.
Yeah, of course, yes. I
You
know.
think people will start walking after finding all the answers, after reading all the reports, all the itineraries? You think they will start walking?
No.
What will they do? They will ask one more question.
So because
Intellect
it
is
is
asking questions only to avoid the journey, not to really start the journey. Because that which is that silence, stillness, is not a thought. That cannot be thought. Intellect surrenders there.
intellect is not able to grasp the abstract. I'm getting somewhere with this. Thank you.
Namaste.